The first thing I want you to imagine is this. Have you ever driven through thick fog late at night? Your headlights are on. The road is still there. But suddenly, you can only see a few meters ahead. The light spreads everywhere, yet nothing looks sharp anymore. Street signs blur. Shapes lose their edges, and every approaching car seems surrounded by a glowing halo. For many people over the age of 55, that exact experience is slowly happening inside their eyes. It often begins quietly. One morning, the world looks slightly cloudy. Not dark, not completely blurred, just softer than before, as if a thin layer of mist has appeared between your eyes and everything you see. At first you ignore it. Maybe the lighting is bad. Maybe your glasses need cleaning. Maybe your eyes are just tired. But then it happens again. Night driving becomes harder. Bright lights start to scatter. Words on a page lose their sharpness. And little by little, the clear world you once saw begins to look like it is fading behind a layer of fog. Most people are told this is simply aging, something that happens to everyone sooner or later. They are told that cataracts are inevitable, and that the only solution is to wait until the lens becomes cloudy enough for surgery. But after more than 20 years studying eye health, I can tell you something important. That fog inside the eye rarely appears overnight. In many cases, it builds slowly year after year because of everyday habits that quietly damage the delicate structures of the eye. My name is Dr. Michael Harris, and today I want to reveal 5 surprisingly common culprits that may be silently speeding up the loss of clear vision for millions of people. And once you understand what they are, you may realize that protecting your eyesight begins with choices you make every single day. Before we talk about the first culprit, it is important to understand something simple about how the eye works. Inside your eye, there is a small natural lens located just behind the pupil. Its job is extremely precise. It bends and focuses light so that images can land perfectly on the retina, at the back of the eye. When the lens is healthy, it is almost completely transparent. Light passes through it smoothly, allowing you to see sharp edges, clear colors, and fine details. But that clarity depends on something very delicate. The lens is built from special proteins arranged in an almost perfect structure. As long as those proteins stay organized, the lens remains clear. But when they begin to change, clump together, or lose their structure, the lens slowly becomes cloudy. That cloudiness is what doctors call a cataract. And surprisingly, certain foods can accelerate the chemical reactions that damage those proteins. The first culprit is something many people eat every single day. Refined starches. This includes foods like white bread bagels, pasta crackers, and instant rice. They look harmless. In fact, many people think of them as basic everyday foods. But inside your body, refined starch behaves very differently than most people realize. The moment these foods enter your mouth, enzymes in your saliva begin breaking them down into glucose. By the time they reach your bloodstream, they can raise blood sugar almost as quickly as eating pure sugar itself. That sudden spike in glucose creates chemical stress throughout the body, including inside the delicate tissues of the eye. I remember a patient I will call Robert Jenkins. Robert was 62 years old and worked as a long-haul truck driver, traveling across several states every week. He came to my clinic because he had started noticing something worrying during night drives. Headlights from other cars seemed unusually bright. Large halos surrounded streetlights, and road signs looked hazy until he got very close. Robert insisted he rarely ate sweets, but when we looked closely at his daily meals, we discovered something else. Breakfast was usually bagels or toast from a truck stop. Lunch was a large sandwich on white bread. Dinner often included pasta or packaged meals. His diet was packed with refined starches. Once he began replacing those foods with slower digesting carbohydrates like beans, whole grains, and vegetables, his blood sugar spikes improved, and the stress on his eyes began to decrease. And that is why refined starch is the first hidden culprit many people overlook. Now let's move to the second culprit. This one is far more hidden, and most people consume it every single day without realizing it. Industrial seed oils. You see them everywhere. Soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil. They are used in restaurants, fast food kitchens, packaged snacks, salad dressings, mayonnaise, and countless processed products on supermarket shelves. For decades, these oils were marketed as heart-healthy. Many families replaced traditional fats with them, believing they were making a better choice. But there is a problem. These oils are extremely unstable when exposed to heat, light, and oxygen. During industrial processing and cooking, they can easily form oxidized compounds that trigger inflammation in the body. Inflammation may sound abstract, but inside your eyes, it becomes very real. The cells that protect and maintain the clarity of your lens depend on healthy cell membranes. Those membranes are partly built from the fats you eat. When unstable oils dominate the diet, those membranes become more vulnerable to oxidative damage. Over time, this damage can accelerate the breakdown of the delicate protein structure inside the lens. Now let's talk about the third culprit. This one is more obvious, yet it is still underestimated. Refined sugar. Sugar plays a major role in a process called glycation. This happens when excess glucose in the bloodstream attaches itself to proteins inside the body. When that process happens in the eye, it can affect the proteins that keep the lens transparent. Think of it like a slow chemical reaction that changes the structure of those proteins, making them stick together and lose their clarity. One patient who helped illustrate this clearly was a woman I will call Margaret Collins. Margaret was 68 years old and believed she had a very healthy diet. She rarely ate desserts and avoided candy completely. Yet her cataracts were progressing much faster than expected. When we looked closely at her daily meals, the hidden sugar became obvious. Fruit-flavored yogurt in the morning, toast with jam for breakfast, store-bought pasta sauce for dinner. Even the bread she purchased contained added sugar. Individually, these foods did not seem excessive. But together, they created a steady stream of sugar entering her bloodstream every day. After reducing those hidden sources of sugar, her metabolic markers improved and the stress on her eyes began to decline. And that is why refined sugar remains one of the most powerful drivers of long-term damage to the eye's delicate lens. The fourth culprit is something that has quietly taken over modern diets: ultra-processed foods. These are the products designed to be fast, convenient, and highly addictive. Frozen dinners, packaged snacks, fast food meals, processed meats, and ready-to-eat microwave dishes. On the surface, they save time. But inside the body, they often create a heavy metabolic burden. Ultra-processed foods typically contain a dangerous combination of refined starch, added sugars, industrial oils, and large amounts of sodium. This mixture pushes the body into a constant state of low-grade inflammation. Inflammation and oxidative stress are two of the biggest enemies of healthy vision. The cells in the eye are extremely sensitive. They rely on a stable environment with balanced nutrients and minimal chemical stress. When the body is constantly dealing with inflammatory compounds from highly processed foods, the delicate tissues of the eye can suffer as well. Over time, This stress contributes to the gradual breakdown of the proteins that keep the lens transparent. But there is another culprit that surprises many people even more. Chronic dehydration. The natural lens of the eye contains a large amount of water. That fluid balance helps maintain its structure and transparency. When the body becomes dehydrated even slightly, the delicate environment around the lens can begin to change. Fluids in the eye may become more concentrated. Nutrients may circulate less efficiently. Waste products may take longer to clear away. All of these small changes create conditions where proteins are more likely to clump together and lose their clarity. Many adults do not drink enough water throughout the day. Instead, they rely on coffee soda or sweetened beverages. While these drinks may feel refreshing, they do not always provide the hydration the body truly needs. Supporting eye health can sometimes begin with something very simple. Drinking enough water and choosing foods that naturally contain more hydration, such as vegetables, fruits, and whole foods. When you combine this habit with reducing refined starches, industrial oils, added sugars, and ultra-processed foods, you begin removing several of the hidden pressures that slowly cloud the lens of the eye. And that brings us to an important question. If these 5 factors can accelerate damage to the lens, is there also a way to help the eye protect itself and support clearer vision over time? By now, you have seen that the gradual loss of clear vision rarely happens because of a single dramatic event. In most cases, it develops slowly through small habits repeated day after day over many years. Refined starches that quickly turn into glucose in the bloodstream. Industrial seed oils that increase oxidative stress, refined sugar that drives the glycation process, ultra-processed foods that fuel chronic inflammation, and even something as simple as chronic dehydration that quietly disrupts the delicate balance of fluids inside the eye can all work together to create an internal environment where the proteins inside your natural lens begin to lose their perfect structure. When that structure starts to change, the lens gradually becomes cloudy, and the world that once looked sharp and vibrant can begin to appear dull and blurred. After more than 20 years working with patients and studying eye health, I have seen many people believe that this process is simply an unavoidable part of aging, and that nothing can be done except waiting for the day when surgery becomes necessary. But I have also seen something that gives people hope. I have seen individuals improve their overall eye health after making simple but consistent changes in their daily habits, choosing better foods, reducing hidden sugars and highly processed ingredients, and giving their bodies the conditions they need to function the way they were designed to. This does not mean every cataract can be reversed, and it certainly does not mean medical care should ever be ignored. But it does remind us that the environment we create inside our bodies can influence our health far more than most people realize. Before we finish, I want to include an important reminder that the information shared in this video is intended for educational purposes only and should never replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing changes in your vision or believe you may have cataracts, it is always important to consult a qualified healthcare professional who can properly evaluate your individual condition. My goal here is simply to help people better understand how everyday choices may influence long-term eye health. If this video helped you see things from a new perspective, write the word vision in the comments below. And tell me which of the 5 factors surprised you the most, because your experience might help someone else recognize what could be affecting their own eyesight. And if you want to continue learning practical ways to protect your vision as you grow older, consider subscribing so you do not miss future videos. Your eyesight is one of the most precious gifts you have, and protecting it often begins with the small decisions you make every single day.